The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on the Canna Connect Show belong solely to the individuals and do not reflect those of Canna Connect and its affiliates, sponsors, or partners. Canna Connect does not promote or facilitate any activity that violates state or federal regulations. Everything you hear here is strictly for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not legal advice, it is not financial guidance, and it's definitely not medical direction. Seriously, don't take our word for it. Even if someone on the mic sounds like they know what they're talking about, and they're probably crazy smart too. Regardless of how legit our guests may be, you should always do your own homework, consult with your attorney, and understand the risk you're taking before you do anything when it comes to cannabis. Our intention is to keep it real. If you've got a problem with anything we've said, take us to court.
Welcome back to the Canna Connect Show. I'm your host, Stephen Eigenmann, and today we are sitting with Jen Reise, North Star Cannabis Consulting. Jen, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm excited to talk to you about licensing, the Accelerator program, legislation, rescheduling, descheduling, and anything else that comes up on the show.
THC?
low potency hemp edibles?
You got it.
We'll be right back. We're getting close to the end of the session.
Well, that's the thing. There's a week and a half left in the legislature, and so it's crunch time. Now, of course, staff in the legislature does their best work.
Right.
Maybe like we cannabis
Procrastination.
folks, we tend to be ADHD folks who work under pressure now.
I mean, they have a lot. There's a ton to work through in Minnesota this year.
There is. And so I don't think that cannabis is the number one focus of the legislature as a whole in the way that it was, 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
Yep.
My hope is that we'll get an omnibus bill passed that includes a couple of important fixes.
Okay.
OCM put forward some fixes that they want to see, including streamlining the event license, which I think would be a good move forward. And then we could go deeper on the streamlining and unification proposal for the medical and adult use supply chain.
Right.
If you want to, that's a big piece that has been on the table this year. People have been having a lot of conversations about it.
Sure.
I'm not sure.
I'd be curious to hear your
It's gonna move forward or
perspective. I
not.
mean, I'm a little surprised at how few event licenses have been pulled so far in Minnesota. I know Strains of the Earth pulled an event license for their 418, 420 weekend party.
Yep.
And obviously there was Legacy Cup in September last year.
Yeah, and then the Growers Ball has one coming up in St.
Coming
Paul in
June 19th. Yeah.
So I'm excited for Kayla Fearing to
Right.
take that event to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. She reached out recently. I think we're going to do some promotion and Luke wants to go to the event. So maybe we'll have some representation there. But
Good.
But 3 in 8 months is not much to write home about. So the event license is underutilized, maybe potentially from maybe what the OCM thought adoption would be like. Licenses have been live by the time this episode fully airs. They'll have been live for a year.
It's true. No, I agree. We haven't seen a lot of event licenses. The good news here, though, is we've done a lot of smoke and weed,
Yeah.
right? And so when we think about what kind of event requires an event license, I try to guide folks as it's a big event.
Yeah.
Any event where you're selling
Commerce driven.
licensed, but not just any event where you're smoking weed with other people,
No.
right?
Right.
And so I think the fact that we have public consumption in Minnesota is an important thing that we need to be willing to stand up for.
Yeah.
One of my hopes for the legislature next year is that we'll take another run at getting a consumption lounge license so that we can smoke together indoors. Patients, visitors, and recreational users all deserve a safe and warm place to smoke.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't have any way to do that without getting a legislative exemption to the Clean Air Act
Okay.
in Minnesota.
Right.
So we need our allies in the legislature, including Representative Jess Hansen, who is totally excited to try to figure out the consumption lounge piece.
Okay.
We need to solve that maybe next year.
Absolutely. That's great to look forward to. The bifurcation of the supply chain, medical cannabis versus adult use cannabis. Just in the last couple of weeks, there was some large news from Washington that Schedule 3 was, that rescheduling for medical marijuana was moving forward. And great opportunity for Vireo and great opportunity for Green Thumb Industries, but those are our only two 100% medical cannabis businesses here in Minnesota. There are some dispensaries now that my language is not as crisp as yours, but are able to sell medical cannabis through their shop. So they have a medical cannabis option and they have an adult use option. What would the potential addition to the omnibus bill do for this dual supply chain that we have? What are the benefits to passing this bill from your perspective?
Yes. So the reason that patient advocates and others started talking about unifying the supply chain is because we want to make it possible for small operators to participate in the medical market.
Right.
And it's been really prohibitively expensive because of the separate supply chain. You've got to grow the medical weed separately. It's in its own metric, and then, sell it separately as medical product. And that's prohibitively expensive for most of the small players that we're excited to support.
All the things that come with setting up your own cultivation, having to have two of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, separate rooms even, right?
Wow.
Yeah, not even separate plants, but separate rooms.
Okay.
I heard of one outdoor cultivator who was instructed that they needed to build a fence between the adult use and the medical plants, which is just ridiculous. Okay, so unifying the supply chain, the idea is it would make it easier for other folks who have a retail license generally to sell both adult use and medical. That has, from a legislative or a law perspective, big ramifications because of how our licenses are structured. You have to restructure the Med Combo license, which is what our two legacy operators have been under, Vireo and GTI.
Yep.
And so it's become this really quite complicated proposal that none of the players, including Vireo and GTI, are very excited about. Sometimes that's evidence of a good compromise.
Absolutely. I'm not leaving until no one is happy.
Yeah.
That's the OCR's new tagline, actually.
Oh, that's a funny tagline.
Just kidding.
Send that over to Eric Cowbell. See what he thinks of that.
New LinkedIn connection for me.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know if unification is going to pass this year, and I do think that the surprise rescheduling bifurcation maybe threw a little bit of a wrench in that, because what we're seeing from the federal government is if you're just in medical, then boom, you're in Schedule 3.
Yep.
Whereas we adult use do have a path forward on rescheduling, but it's more uncertain. It's going to take more time. Yep. We can get into that more later if you want to.
Yeah. June 29th, I believe.
29th,
is
yes.
The DEA hearings.
Exactly.
ALJ is
administrative law judge.
Administrative law judge.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So these big administrative proceedings move forward through a hearing process, and then administrative law judge will make an order after that hearing process. It's slow, it's cumbersome, but at least it's moving.
Right.
I hope.
Yeah. I mean, the opportunity to continue to reschedule cannabis all the way down to 0 or 5 would be fantastic.
Yeah. I want to see it unscheduled.
Yes.
Like alcohol.
Yes.
Alcohol is not scheduled, folks.
Yes.
Right? And it's regulated. We check IDs, we test and label, but we don't submit it to the Controlled Substances Act.
Right. The episode that came out today, if you're watching live with Elizabeth Sage, I touch on Tanner's Substack that he dropped a couple weeks ago, and I believe that's what he was getting at. And then if you talk about the panel that you hosted with John Helper, talking about the difficulties for a brewery to produce THC seltzers and beer, it gets really challenging no matter which door you open with what's available currently as potential outcomes with the hemp ban.
Exactly.
So I'm absolutely in favor of that as well. And then it would just come more down to, okay, what dose are you looking for? And that would maybe that would dictate where you're able to find the product, but that we're just talking about cannabis. We're not talking about hemp and then THC and then marijuana, because Minnesota's guilty of this as well, as you know, from the way HF 100 was passed, where there's cannabis, there's marijuana, there's hemp, and not picking on Minnesota, what the country needs is one word and as little scheduling on it as possible. Cannabis. Marijuana is a racist term. Hemp is a 4-letter word, and it's been manipulated. Not as badly here as it is in Wisconsin, for example. But that's I take your same stance. I would love for it to be on the same playing field as alcohol, and there's maybe places that you can get really strong alcohol, and then there's maybe places at like your local brewery or coffee shop where you can get light alcohol.
We're the only state that still has 3.2 beer, I think.
And I remember a brand launched and they had 3.2 milligrams. That was their selling point in their seltzer. Obviously that was gimmicky, but it was a brewery mindset. Hey, this is similar to NA beer. And if we wanted to talk about hemp beverages, we could talk about hemp beverages the whole time, but let's talk
I'm going to crack my
non-dose.
on that note.
Brewed locally at Earl Giles Distillery.
Yes, I really enjoyed this. I appreciate the sample that you
amazing. Yeah. We enjoy it too. This is our first product that's going out into distribution. And so you're going to be able to find this product in Brainerd. You're going to be able to find this product in Mankato, Rochester, Minneapolis, St. Paul. So many of my friends, they see me come out with a product. They're like, where can I buy it? It's like Modest, Earl Giles, Back Channel. Like you can only get it where it's made. This time around, you're going to see more adoption across the state with stores. So
wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And maybe even a follow-up to the Green Standard coming later this summer.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of fun names. Yeah.
Let's talk about the role that you play in Minnesota cannabis. I will never forget, I met you at Modest Brewing, spring of 2023. For all I know, it could have been 3 years ago to this date.
Let's say it was.
Let's say it was. So in the last 3 years, but probably more so in the last 6 months, like, how have you enjoyed your role? What do you see your role? And where is your time spent?
Yeah. So that I'm trained as an attorney. I've been an attorney in Minnesota for 18 years. I graduated law school valedictorian, but I left the practice of law last January to go out on my own and start what I call North Star Cannabis Consulting. And I really think of myself as a consultant and a commentator in this industry. I'm super excited to be, I hope, a trusted source of information through my newsletter, which is free. I have more than 1,300 subscribers that are excited to open that every 2 weeks for compliance updates, which everybody needs. It's so hard to stay on top of this stuff, as well as analysis. What do all these pieces mean together? And then upcoming events, so that everybody can have a source of information. You also write an excellent newsletter, so there's certainly room for other newsletters in this world.
Oh, there's so much room.
Yes, I have written that newsletter every 2 weeks for almost 3 years, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
That's been a lot of newsletters, a lot of words. And so pleased to be a trusted source of information to folks.
Absolutely.
Then what I'm spending a lot of my time on right now, I do some one-on-one consulting. But what really has my heart is the North Star Accelerator program, which I launched almost a year ago now.
Okay.
And is at its core a membership program. So helping businesses who move through the licensing process and open compliant and successful businesses.
Yeah.
And so I'm proud to say that I now have 6 dispensaries and 3 cultivations that are all the way through to licensed and open and selling flower if they're dispensaries, and others who are still working through that process. As a group, we've accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the fundamental insights that led me to start the Accelerator program is, how do small businesses win in this really complicated industry? We got to win together. And there are lots of groups of people that are working together around this industry, like the Rise and Grind group on Tuesday. They've really helped each other a lot as well.
Yeah.
And there are others, the Minnesota Cannabis Networking group on Facebook.
Yeah.
So my Accelerator was an attempt to come up with a light consulting model that gave people quality information and a place to ask their questions so that they can move quickly forward to be able to open in this really difficult industry.
Right.
And I'm really proud of what we have accomplished together.
Yeah. You're in your second cohort?
I've brought people in as 2 cohorts, but we functioned as one group because everybody's kind of on their own timelines.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so are there folks that are open that are still attending the North Star?
Very much so.
Wow. That's
Yes,
cool.
yes.
Yeah.
Because I think our next phase is going to be Now we're open. That's just the beginning. That's just the beginning of the puzzle. Getting through this complicated murkiness of getting to open.
Right.
Now we need to succeed in light of a wave of big money coming into Minnesota.
Okay, so
And
we thought about getting your license, which was a chunk of your time, like helping folks with their application. That was a big deal. And then phase 2, getting open. But yet there's another door.
It's another. Yeah. So some of the next challenges that I see facing the industry are, what do we do when there are too many dispensaries in Minnesota? That's going to happen really soon. It hasn't happened yet. We've got about 120 minutes.
You leave uptown
right now. But soon there are going to be too many dispensaries. And so as we see...
How soon? Soon's a 4-letter word.
I think by this fall, it's going to feel extremely different. By this fall, consumers are going to have a lot of choices about where they buy.
They'll have some brand
They're not
loyalty.
going to be paying $72 an eighth like I did recently. It's a lot of money, especially if you're a home grower. You're like, oh my God, there is not very much in this little tiny package, you guys.
Right.
But I want to see what's out on the market. Also this fall, we're going to have a lot of choice in cultivators finally being able to harvest and share. And so that's a phase that I'm really excited about. Right now, my accelerator members and others, basically everybody who's open is selling sort of the same lineup of products if they can get them. Tribal flower, and there are a couple non-tribal operators that have come online.
Probably more than a half dozen now, but there's a couple standouts. We'll leave brands aside throughout this conversation, but I really like that the accelerator program is serving folks across the phases that they're in. Whether they were early, first couple members of your program and now open. But I think that point is well taken, that there are still lots of twists and turns, and the program is changing, and it will always change. Like Michigan, for example, that's a tax thing, but man, just to add a tax, 6 years into the program, that you didn't have that in your business plan.
Yeah, well, and we're all wandering through this industry. What's going to happen with rescheduling?
Sure.
What happens if and when hemp becomes illegal in November?
Right.
Now, I don't know those answers.
Yeah.
I can't write a book and give it to you.
Yeah.
But instead, I can work hard to stay on top of this, listen, respond to those needs, and meet with you every week.
Yeah.
I sort of think of this process as like we're all trying to cross a river, right? And so I'm building a raft. Okay, who wants to come with me? Let's build a raft, get a log, let's do this together. Some people are bringing a yacht, whatever. Some people are doing their own thing. Some people are like, I don't even have a log, I'm going to swim. Okay, that's okay, right? Yeah. But who wants to be on my raft? Right. We're going to figure this out together.
I love that. It's a good analogy. Spectrum-wise, perspective on how prepared Minnesota's operator class is, really right now. I think you've sort of touched on it there with swimming to yacht, and the raft being the middle where you're finding, your people. Like, you're really providing a great service to your cohortees.
Members. Because it is really a membership program. I don't make people some kind of big promise like some of the consultants. Pay me a great deal of money and I will get you here. Okay. Instead, I have people pay me a week. They pay me $100 a week to be part of the membership. Yeah. I ask them for a 4-week minimum, and then if it's not working, they can move on. They can find their own path across the road. That's okay. Right. I also think what I have designed is trying to make it possible for folks who are doing mostly DIY. But full DIY is really, really hard because you have more questions like about what the OCM is going to accept in your final plans of record, for example. And you can't just email OCM all the time. People complain, I see on the Facebook groups, like, oh, OCM doesn't email me back. Right. That's not their role or how they're staffed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that they're not there for you, but that's not like, And so instead, I've created a place where people can come in, get their questions answered, and move on. Answered either by me or by my network.
Right.
Because part of what I'm doing is bringing people in and connecting them with my members who they need. Like Mark Waller, who's an incredible cannabis accountant, was on just yesterday talking about rescheduling. And what do we as adult use operators, what should we know and what should we do now? What are we keeping our eye on?
Mark's been following this for a number of years.
Oh, yes, because he's been supporting folks outside of Minnesota. He's a Minnesotan.
Yeah.
But he's been supporting folks outside Minnesota for years. And so to get that kind of just quick 20-minute update from a qualified accountant, be able to ask them questions, and also consider whether that's the person you would want to hire or you want someone else, that's super valuable.
Yeah.
We have done that again and again. We had a wholesale distributor come in, talk about their business model.
Okay.
We've had OCM come in and talk about the inspection process. And speaking of, like, OCM does want to support small operators, but they can't support them all on a one-to-one basis.
Right.
Instead, they want to know what sorts of questions small operators are having or what sorts of barriers. And so that's something that I can do as well, is try to like collate those questions, come up with possible solutions that are within OCM's power, and then try to like pitch that to them in a way that makes sense for them.
Right.
And the same for the legislature.
Yeah.
Together we have enough power so that I can be on the SodaCan legislative committee talking about what should we ask the legislature for? What do small operators need? Onesies, twosies, none of us have time to go talk to the legislature.
Yeah.
And so the accelerator operates as, less than a co-op, but more than a meeting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And, it's, especially if you've gotten to the place where you're open and you're selling $52 eighths or $64 eighths, like you might have $100 a week to stay abreast and to be able to have that touch point with Jen to ask questions and also be around other folks, right? Because I think so much of this is important. Like the supply and demand right now, there's not a traditional Apex Technologies platform where folks are buying and selling. It's phone calls and Instagram and network, like,
and who you know.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Right. And so I can bring my network to bear in helping folks find win-wins. I'm all about trying to find those win-wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm proud to say the Accelerator has helped us do that and do that in a way that people can open expeditiously and keep moving.
Good. Well, I'm glad that you've found a great service that you can provide that's working.
Thank you. Yeah. So I think the next phase is helping the consumer understand that they have a choice in the dispensaries that they go to.
Sure.
Most of the dispensaries that are open now are small operators, not all of them, right? But many of them. I looked at the Star Tribune list again last night. And of course, we've got the tribal folks and we've got the 2 medical operators now into adult use, but most of the rest are one location folks who have been trying to figure it out.
Most of them are one-offs. That's
not going to be true very much longer. We have not seen very many of the big retail or the big mezzos open in Minnesota yet. They are just about to come in and flood the market. We've also got big cultivation facilities that are coming online that are built with big money that's about to come in. And so we need to be ready for the next phase, which is to win the heart of the customer for our small business and make them excited to come back and try the craft cannabis that we are going to be able to sell them soon.
Yeah.
We are going to have much more quality, small batch, interesting craft cannabis to sell them as soon as the fall, maybe sooner. And I hope that we can educate the consumer such that they're excited to go on that ride.
I think the best way or the easiest way to win the hearts of the consumer is if you're growing in La Crescent, to be selling in La Crescent, as an example. Hyper local in your marketing strategy and in your partner supply chain strategy, so that it's less of a story that you have to convince someone. I get all my gas at the same gas station because it's 6 blocks from my house. And if I need gas, I'm probably 6 blocks from my house. So I use that as an example to say, like, it's easier to convince someone to buy something when it's local. So if we're talking about micro businesses or 5,000 square feet canopies or smaller, it's a lot of weed to some, but to other states, it's a very small canopy size. So depending on how you're looking to develop your brand, are you looking to be in all 4 corners of the state with your pre-roll brand, or does your supply that you have available work within a corner of the market or a segment of the market? And keeping the flower as close to where it's grown will allow for brand adoption to be stronger, because the folks that live in Plymouth go to Loose Line Brewing. And I think we have to keep in mind the way that craft breweries gained adoption and fanfare. It was because that brewery was in your backyard, and that brewery meant something to you, or you appreciated the service they provide. The coffee that I primarily buy is located fairly close to my house. The shops that I buy hot coffee at, not that I buy beans from, or right. I get my beans at the grocery store, but I think that is just common wisdom when it comes to marketing, because you're not going to have the same competitive advantages when it comes to the larger licensees that you're referring to that are coming. And I will say, though, if we're looking at the spectrum of large MSOs to micro cultivators, the largest MSOs, GTI aside, are not paying attention to the Minnesota market. So there is a considerable amount in the middle, from the 34 to the 68%, right, within the sine curve, generally speaking. So I hear you, but everything is relative. And Minnesota designed in some ways to keep the cure leaves and the true leaves out of the market, so that the smaller micro businesses weren't squashed from the onset.
I'd agree with that. I think another way to think about your gas station example is people talk about how do you win a customer? You can win on location, you can win on price,
not right now,
you can win on quality, or you can win on experience, right?
Yeah.
So
sure,
I think as we think about how the smallest businesses are going to win once there is a lot of supply in the market, and once there are a lot of dispensaries in the market, I think it's going to be on customer experience, and or quality. Some will have great locations.
Brand story,
exactly. And so as I think about what the next phase of this is for my members and for others similarly situated, those are some of the things on my radar.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I totally respect that. It's just I'm paying attention to cannabis media companies larger than mine, to understand the national footprint.
Definitely.
So if it's not Timberwolves content, I'm tuned into the Dales Report, and they get folks from Cureleaf, Trueleaf, Fund Canna, the MSO supporting the MSO, which I've never shopped at an MSO, but I'm aware that in Florida, for example, I'm aware in these markets outside of Minnesota that they absolutely dominate.
That's right. Well, I've done a lot of traveling and shopping at dispensaries in other states. So I think as a consumer, it's easier to shop at an MSO because you know what you're going to get, right? You went into MedMen in California, say 5 years ago.
That's true.
It's a beautiful big store.
I have shopped there. That's true.
Do you remember what happened to MedMen?
Oh,
do you remember the story of MedMen?
Yes, they lit money on fire.
That's right. They took all this venture capital money and went bankrupt. They owed so much money,
hundreds of millions,
to their suppliers, to everybody else in the California market. The venture capital lost everything. And that brings us to something that we haven't talked about yet, which is, and now nobody with money is excited to invest in cannabis because they think it will be a losing proposition. And that is a huge problem for our small operators in Minnesota and our medium operators in Minnesota, is that there's just no capital out there.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we were talking to legislators about this morning was we did a good job in Minnesota's social equity program in getting folks to the position where they can set up licenses, but now that they actually need to acquire buildings and do a build out and build a successful business, that requires some capital in there, and a lot of people are stuck at that point. It's a very hard moment
with a ticking time.
That's exactly right.
Or like with an expiration date.
With an expiration date
on their piece of paper.
Exactly. So that's another thing that I'm watching closely as well.
Are you involved in the Flourish Investment Forum next week?
I have not been.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Angelique and Calandra do.
Yeah, I'm not either.
It's a very important issue, and I know quite a few people that are speaking.
Right.
It's unfortunate that it is, what do we call that? Cheek to cheek, I guess, from a scheduling perspective with NECAN.
It is.
Because
it's interesting timing. I'm not quite sure, but
there's always something going on in this market. I think maybe just, I don't know. But NECAN is going to be a huge event.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so that's next Thursday and Friday, of course, May 14th to 15th. I'm on stage in 3 different panels.
Okay.
3 different people asked me to be part of their panel.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Let's see if NECAN accepts them. NECAN accepted all 3 of them and then scheduled them all back to back. So I'm speaking on 3 back-to-back panels on Friday. But I'm excited to do that. I'll be talking about advising small entrepreneurs, about raising capital and getting set up for success, and also about hemp THC.
Okay.
So so I'm excited to have those conversations with folks.
I'm anticipating like the NBC metal tracker. It's like you and Don Raleigh for the most panel appearances at NECAN.
I was thinking about bringing like different sweaters or blazers, like switching between panels.
Yeah. Are they recorded?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I'm
possibly.
Not sure. I don't. Based on NECAN's usage of YouTube, I don't believe they are.
Okay.
I think YouTube's an underrated platform for cannabis media. I think we're addicted to Instagram. We forget about Facebook. We're legal on LinkedIn. And then I go to tag some of our partners in YouTube videos, and they have 11 followers on YouTube. It's like, it's Google. It's Google search. If you do it, if this interview rolls out and we put chapters, folks are going to be able to literally Google each topic that we talked about, and that segment will pop up on the first page of Google. It is an underutilized platform in cannabis, and which is why we're live on LinkedIn and live on Facebook. Appreciate our watchers today, and we're holding this until June, and it'll drop in June on YouTube. But
okay. Well, we'll see how well some of my predictions play out then. I was pleased I had an interview with Racket last week.
Wow. Okay.
And she said, I just went back and read my notes from our interview a year ago.
That was a great piece.
And your predictions were the best ones. And I was like, that is about the nicest thing anybody said to me for a while, right? Because I work very hard to watch this market, to learn from other markets. I've been to MJ BizCon 4 times, trying to learn from the national folks about what's gone poorly in other places, how things have played out. And then figure out how to guide folks in Minnesota through this really complicated story. So anyway, I'm excited to see that Racket.
You have a new Racket piece coming out soon. If you spoke to them potentially.
Yes, I believe so. We had a very long conversation. I'm super interested to see what she pulls out of that.
When it drops, we'll include that in the show notes, as well as a link to your website where people can get in touch. And it's hello@northstarcannabisconsulting.com.
That's my email. Yep.
That's your email.
Yep. And northstarcannabisconsulting.com is my website. That'll get folks information about the accelerator, as well as to sign up for the newsletter. Because when I think about like people finding this in June on Google, like who knows what will have happened between now and then, as far as federal changes, rescheduling, the hemp ban, whatever. That's partly why I write a newsletter that comes out every other week at 4:20. Because this industry is always evolving, always pushing forward much more rapidly than any other industry that I have been involved in.
Absolutely.
And I enjoy that, but it means we all have to stay on top of our game.
Yeah. I don't think too much will change with Schedule 3. I think a lot already has changed as it relates to medical marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
The hemp is, as we know, we're protected in Minnesota. We have our own definition of low dose hemp in Minnesota, but that is still problematic for breweries that produce beverages and sell it over state lines or distribute it across state lines. It sounds unlikely that they're going to that the legislation would put a delay in effect, like to kick the can down the road. Do you have any predictions on where you think we'll be in the next 6 months with low dose hemp beverages, or hemp as it's known?
Yeah. I've been talking to a lot of people, some of whom are lobbying Washington, and others of whom helped write the original 2018 Farm Bill and so forth. Personally, I'm really excited about the Klobuchar-Rand bill that was introduced.
Yeah.
I don't know, a week and a half ago now, something like that. That would put into the federal legislation that hemp is banned unless it's regulated within each state.
Yeah.
And a state that has regulated those states can do interstate commerce with one another, which is super important, right? We know, as you said, that hemp will still be legal within Minnesota after the ban goes into effect if nothing else happens.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really enough to keep the industry that folks have built here alive.
Right.
And so a more formal states can opt in kind of federal position would not be as good as what we have now, but would go a long way to preserving what we have now.
I think both Amy Klobuchar and Rand Paul are well versed in this category of cannabis.
And I'm glad to see Klobuchar showing leadership on this. Minnesota is the national leader in hemp THC. I'm so proud of what we have done, both that our entrepreneurs have done from a manufacturing perspective, creating safe products that consumers love and shipping them around the United States.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of what we've done from a legislative perspective, that we've come up with a medium level of regulation for hemp that includes, testing, labeling, age gating, without it being the totally crushing over the top regulation that is imposed on the adult use industry because we're federally legal under Schedule 1.
Yeah.
As we said earlier,
right.
I would love to see, this is thinking big picture, a one plant solution from a regulatory standpoint where we regulate everything to a medium amount.
Yeah. Right.
Get rid of the 280E taxes,
Yep.
Allow us access to regular banking and capital access, and get rid of this crazy over-the-top metric. Cannabis doesn't need to be regulated like plutonium, and it's time to end that chapter.
Yeah,
and move forward together. I'm preaching to the choir.
No,
I know that you're on board there.
Well, we're not. It's not just you and I that watch this.
That's right.
That's the good thing. These cameras are on. Last bit. If they're watching this live, check Jen out at NECAN. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm sure you'll be at CannaCon as well in some form. And if you're an operator and you still have questions, the North Star Accelerator program is a great option, and I highly encourage you to get in touch with Jen.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, I believe we can help folks avoid mistakes. We don't all have to make the same mistakes, and ultimately save money by being able to choose the right providers the first time and to move expeditiously to open.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. That's Jen Reise on the Canna Connect Show. We'll see you next time.